Really, you, myself.
He sent me an email.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Shucks, let me check. You know, I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Okay, we are live.
So we're live, by the way.
All right.
We do have quorum, but we don't have any action items, so.
Okay. Are we
The only person we're waiting for is Gary.
Oh, okay. I'll wait for him before I start the meeting.
Okay. Julie, you didn't stay online since yesterday, did you? Julie called me. She said, I'm online. I said, did you stay early?
Yeah. Hmm.
I'll text Gary.
Okay.
He just came.
Okay.
And no testimony, yeah?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, we have no items anyway. Okay.
Who said Jesse just joined, so maybe he's joining instead.
Okay. Oh, there I see him. All right.
Hey, Jess.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna join as a panelist because Gary's gonna join the meeting as a panelist. I'm just gonna be an attendee. I'm gonna observe.
Okay.
Okay, we're waiting for him.
We're waiting for him.
Oh, okay. Oh, let me. Okay, I'll jump on as a panelist until he jumps in.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So Chair, we have a quorum if you would like to start.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. It is now 5:03. Could be a few minutes off. And let's see, first thing, for those that are attending via Zoom, can you raise your hand if you have somebody that's in the room in addition to yourself? Okay, seeing none. For the record, attendees that are online via Zoom are by themselves, no other person in the room. Okay, so we will start also with, for the records, there has been no public comment received for this meeting. So we can move on to approval of the minutes of the June 6th, 2023 meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes that were circulated? If no changes, could I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, so Julie moved and I saw Diana raise her hand, so I'll say Diana, you second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Take, unanimously approved. So then we move on to Kahuku report.
So I don't have much to report. Unfortunately, Kahuku was scheduled to meet last week. And Shane had an urgent family situation come up. So we had to cancel the meeting. So they did, and that has not been rescheduled yet. However, Kahuku is planning a overnight retreat at Halepohaku in August. What are the dates?
It's the 25th and the 26th.
Yeah, 25th and 26th. Something that they like to do once a year is to get up on the Mauna itself. So last week's meeting, we were supposed to plan the agenda for their retreat, but we're not able to. So I don't have anything to report on that. I think it's fair to say that they, along with the Environment Committee, along with us, Maunakea Management Board, continue to await clarification on how this period of transition that we are now in affects our respective roles with the authority. And I think it's fair to say that they have many of the same questions that we have. I'll be talking in my executive director's report on a status update on the transition. But that's all I really have for Kahuku at this point.
Okay, then you can move into your executive director's report.
Okay. I am going to share my screen. I did prepare a few slides to review. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So primarily, we don't have a lot of, well, we don't have any action items this evening. And my management report will really focus entirely on the transition with Maunakea Stewardship Authority. In general, I would say, from an operational perspective, we don't have a lot of projects in the pipeline, and those that we do have are smaller, at least right now. A couple of larger projects that could be ready to bring forward next year. We're in the works of, we're in the process of working on those. But I anticipate that for the next 6 months or so, anything brought forward will be relatively minor projects. We have not heard back, by the way, from DLNR on some of those concurrence letters that I informed you folks about. Well, we heard back on some of them, but not on all of them. So there are a couple projects we're still waiting on. So I'm going to focus my executive director's report this evening on MK-SOA transition. So as a reminder, effective July 1st of this year, last week, Act 255, which was enacted and signed into law by Governor Ige, creating the Maunakea Stewardship Oversight Authority. On July 1st, they became an official state agency attached to the Department of Land and Natural Resources. I think we all know sort of how it's gotten to this point, but the current state is they're basically a 12-member volunteer board. I've listed the names there of the board members, starting with Chair Komeiji and on down the list. They are volunteer, with the one notable, I don't want to say exception, but to note is that UH Hilo Chancellor, which is an assigned position on the board, currently now that's Bonnie, that is a non-voting position. So she can participate in all of the activities, discussions, make motions, but she is a non-voting member. So there are actually 11 voting members on the board. They have no staff, although they have 6 positions approved by the legislature. And they're in the process right now of recruiting for 2 of them. Their executive director position and their executive assistant position. Now you notice I have asterisked this particular item. This morning, MKSO board held their monthly meeting here in Hilo, and they voted to approve the appointment of Wes Machida as interim temporary executive director of the MKSO board. Wes is the former director of the BNF Budget and Finance Department. He was also the former executive director of ERS, Employee Retirement Service. He has quite a bit of state experience and has currently been assisting John Komeiji through his role that Wes has a part-time position with Speaker Psyche, and he's working on several projects. And so Speaker Psyche has asked Wes to assist John with his startup requirements. So Wes will be stepping into that role as soon as they complete their HR processing, but the board did vote to approve his appointment this morning. He made note to say that he's only accepting this position for 6 months. And his primary goals are to help with the recruitment of the permanent executive director, as well as to assist and help with developing the transition plan that they need to develop, and assist with various other startup measures. So we now at least have an identified staff person that I can work with directly on the various issues that we've been working with John on up until now. I am told that the executive assistant position, they are in the process of making an offer to an individual, but they were not ready to announce that this morning. So progress being made by the authority on starting to fill some of their staffing needs. It was confirmed at the meeting today that their financial appropriation from the legislature is 14 million for each of the next 2 fiscal years. So they have resources that they can spend to begin doing the work that they need to do. A couple of other things that just as part of where they're at, they have created 2 permitted interaction groups. One is headed by board member Doug Adams, who represents the county. His permitted action group is working on engaging and retaining consultants in various specialty areas that the board has identified a need for additional support. So Doug is working with the DLNR HR on that process. And then there's a second permitted interaction group that is tracking our decommissioning projects, chaired by authority member Horner, Mr. Horner. And again, their purpose is to document lessons learned of the decommissioning process. So that is the current state. Oh, one other thing I want to point out, Regent Ball, who has been representing the Board of Regents on the board, his term on the Board of Regents has rolled off. So it is unclear yet who the new regent will be, who will be assigned to the MK-SOA. Wayne, I don't know if you have any update on that particular item.
Yeah, so thanks, Greg. The person has been selected, but not ready for announcement yet. Should be within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, okay. So I noticed, Regent Ball was not at today's MK-SOA meeting, but I assume that that was to be expected.
That's
Any
correct.
other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on. As you folks know, what we are now into, since the transition period has started, is a period in which the Stewardship Authority and the university are directed by Act 255 to jointly manage the lands that the university currently manages on Mauna Kea. The specific language shows up in two parts of the act. This first part states that the authority shall serve jointly with the University of Hawaii in fulfilling the obligations and duties under the state lease for a period of 5 years as established in this section. So all it says is we're supposed to be jointly managing. And in our view, jointly managing involves all of the processes that we have in place, including our review processes that involve you folks and Kahuku-Mauna and our environment committee. The second part of the second section of the act where this joint management shows up is a little bit more confusing as to how this is all supposed to work. It says here, as you see, during the transition period, the authority shall jointly manage Mauna Kea lands with the University of Hawaii, provided that the authority's day-to-day operations shall be carried out by the Center of Mauna Kea Stewardship for the transition period established in this subsection. This would seem to imply that the authority has final say on things at this point. So the question for us is, what does joint management mean in practical terms? This is a conversation I know we've all been wanting to have, been pushing to have. I have been pushing the authority to have. I'm hopeful that now that they at least have a interim executive director, we can begin to make some progress on at least having these important conversations. But in the meantime, we've been thinking through what does joint management mean in practical terms? Exactly what will the authority be looking and wanting to do with us in this joint management capacity. I have expanded on some of the things that I've shared with you in the past about projects that we anticipate the authority will have feelings about and opinions about, and have expanded to sort of create two categories of issues that I think that I anticipate will be of interest to them, and that they will want to play some kind of role in reviewing. One category of issues has to do with things that are more policy related, having to do with our plans, regulatory related, and compliance issues. So as a list of some of the examples here, I think that any issues that come up with lease and permit compliance are likely to be issues that they are going to want to at least know about, if not actually weigh in on. Obviously, any environmental issues such as the recent spill that we had at our UH-88 observatory. We are in the process of updating some of our resource management plans. Justin Ye, our resource management manager, is working on that. There have been indications by some of the board members that that's going to be an area of high interest for them. And I'm sure they're going to want to weigh in on those plans, those updated plans. Similarly, there have been interests expressed by other board members regarding education and outreach. And so, you know, as we've introduced recently, we now have an education and outreach coordinator, Kaleo Pilago, and he is developing his plan. And I'm sure that the authority is going to be interested in that plan. I think any discussion regarding the future of Halepohaku and the visitor information station is going to be of high interest to them. Any discussions about having to do with commercial tour operators or the CTOs. We have had a desire to update those permits. Those permits are we assumed from DLNR, so they need some updating in various ways. That's an issue that I am pretty sure that they will want to weigh in on, particularly given that commercial tours are a source of revenues. Obviously, anything legal, they're going to want to at least know of or weigh in on. What's not clear to me is how much into the details of some of that kind of stuff they're going to want to get into. For example, we enter into contracts for water delivery and fuel and all of that kind of stuff. I have no idea if they're going to want to wade into that level of detail. We have been doing some work with them on educating them on our financial model, how the finances in CMS work. Today at their meeting, I provided an overview for the whole board. This is the first time the whole board had a chance to receive some information about not just our operations, but our financial, how monies flow in and how they're allocated to our expenses. And then, of course, anything that ends up in the media, I know for sure they're going to want to not just know about, perhaps even want to somehow be involved in. The other category of things that I anticipate will be of interest to them are more on the project reviews. Participating at some level, whatever that is, much like you folks help us with in reviewing projects. I suspect any large project that an observatory or UH brings forward that looks and feels like an infrastructure project, they're going to be something that they're going to want to review and make recommendations on. As an example, we currently have a project where SMA currently has a project where they're repaving their parking lot. I anticipate, or I'm thinking a project like that in the future is probably something that they're going to want to pay close attention to. Decommissioning, they obviously are following those projects. Clearly, the UH-Hilo Education Telescope at Halepohaku, that has to do with the future of Halepohaku. I know that some members have voiced strong interest in that project. I did brief them, as I briefed you folks, on the work that we are starting to begin to address the need to decommission our underground fuel storage tanks at Halepohaku and replace them with new tanks. I have briefed them previously and again today on that issue. There are clearly strong feelings by some members about that particular project. Any resource management projects that come out of our updated plans, I'm sure they're going to want to review. Similarly with our education and outreach projects, especially anything that are what I would consider a culturally based initiative. There are a host of very small Manini things that we do at HP and the Viz on an ongoing basis. I don't know if they're going to want to review and get involved with those. Those are not projects that often, that typically need a permit or any kind of approval. Just as an example, and the HUA and the team have recently changed out the furniture in our common building. I don't know if that's something that they would want to weigh in on. And then there are clearly large equipment purchases that are on the horizon, that some of which would extend, possibly extend beyond the transition period, so could affect them. So these are just a sampling of some of the kinds of projects I anticipate that they're going to want to start to be plugged in on in our internal review process. So the real question then still is, UH is still the legally responsible entity for complying with these plans, complying with these permits, complying with the terms of the lease. So what is MKSOA's role? How is this supposed to work? At this point, I have only more questions than answers, unfortunately. But that is sort of the state of things as we stand now. As I said, at least as of today or soon, hopefully when he becomes official, we now have an identified person that we can work directly with at the staff level with the appointment of Wes Machida. So that concludes my executive director's report. Let me stop and see if there are any questions. You had a question, Roberta?
Only that the more, right, the more that transpires, for me, it becomes, there's even more questions, right? And I think your last question on the last page is, spot on. If UH is going to be liable, then what is MKSOA's role? And liable, or I don't know. Are you if you're going to be legally responsible and obligated, and you have no money, because right now it's not clear, right? Who's funding UA, Center for Maunakea Stewardship? Greg, right now, where is that money coming from?
That comes from the UH. That comes from UH.
Okay, and is that going to continue, or is that in addition to this 14 million, or does it become part of the 14 million? Anyway, that's all running through my head.
Yeah, we have the same questions. If somehow this transition period means that they have final say on things, then I think the argument is a very strong argument that they ought to be paying for services. Obviously there's a big chunk of our budget that the MKOs pay for, but that's through other agreements that we have with them. How that's going to work in the future is unclear, but on the UH side, we would argue that the more that the MK SOA is involved in decision-making, then I think it's only right and proper that they be contributing to the budget, to the finances of CMS.
So they haven't even begun to broach that, have they?
No. I mean, we've talked about it internally, and it's a conversation we're anxiously waiting to have with them. And I've made that known to Chair Komeiji.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
If I may, I'll reserve mine for executive session.
So speaking of which, I'm looking at the agenda. There is no new business to discuss. So would this be a point at which time we should go into executive session?
Yeah, I mean, I'm done with my report. There's no other business, so
Okay,
I can make a motion. I move that we move into executive session. Hang on a second, I want to make sure I get this right.
yeah.
I move that we move into pursuant to HRS sections 92.4 and 92.5A4, that we move into executive session to consult with our attorney on questions and issues pertaining to our powers, duties, privileges, and immunities and liabilities.
Is there a second? Thank you, Julie. Julie seconds. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye, okay. It's been moved, seconded, and approved, so we will move into executive session now.
Okay, use the other link now.
Recording in progress.
I'm showing, Greg, can you hear me?
Yes,
It
Can you hear
says
me?
I can't start my video because the host has disabled it.
Hang on.
Okay, great. Is everybody on? No, let's see one. No,
No, not yet.
yeah.
Last two are in the waiting room.
Everybody's moved.
Okay,
Okay. I think everybody's in, right?
yes.
Okay. So it is now 6:34 and I will restart the public meeting. For the records, the Maunakea Management Board during the executive session had a frank discussion and continues efforts to understand its role as it relates to Act 255. There were no votes taken during the executive session. So once again, all board members that are attending in Zoom, if anyone has someone in the room with you, could you please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none, for the record, Maunakea Management Board members attending this meeting via Zoom were in the room by themselves. So the next item, announcements. The next public meeting will be held on August 1st, 2023 at 5 p.m. Any other announcements, Greg?
No, none from our side.
Okay, well, let's see, what else was I gonna say? All right, since there is no other announcements, it is now 6:35. I will adjourn the meeting and have a good evening all, and thank you for attending. Aloha.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello.